before we start, what's the conversation about?
Yeah. So basically, I want to ask you about John the Baptist.
I don't know too much, man. What was it that you want to ask me?
So the Quran essentially says, I'll show you anyway. Oh, you can get your Quran out if you want. I can show it to you. So, in the Quran, it says, "O Zachariah." Well, this is what I believe is a mistake in the Quran.
Okay.
It says, "O Zachariah, we gave you the good news of a boy whose name is Yahya. We did not create anyone before him with the same name." So basically what happens is once we look into history, we see someone called John Hyrcanus, who was a high priest, who did have the name John.
Oh, okay, I see.
So when we go to the Tafsir, Al-Jalalain, never before have we made anyone his namesake. That is, never has there been anyone with the name John. And Ibn Kathir, he also says, this means that no one has had the name before him. Ibn Jarir preferred this interpretation. May Allah have mercy upon him. So my question, like obviously as a Christian, that would be a clear error.
Yeah.
So I would ask, what your
I'm gonna have to
interpretation.
research this.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm gonna have to research this.
Okay, and another point is what I wanted to ask you. So, do you affirm the Christians use the name Jehovah? As a Muslim, do you affirm that that is the divine name of God?
It's not explicitly mentioned. What does Jehovah mean?
It means like I am that I am, or some will say it's. I will go with the interpretation that it's I am who I am.
Okay.
Others may say the one who is and who will be.
Okay. So I don't think there's any explicit mentioning of Jehovah.
Yeah.
So I would not necessarily use the name to invoke. So no, I don't think I would use it.
Okay.
Or any Muslim should.
So I went to Islam Web and someone asked the same question. What is the true name of God? Is it Allah or Yahweh, which is Jehovah? Where can I find information on the language of Aramaic? So they said the real name of God is Allah. This is the name he named himself with in his revealed book on the tongue of his prophet and messengers, may Allah exalted their mention.
Yeah.
So there's the problem with that name is, for example, let me just...
We know that Allah is a pre-existent name as well, though.
Right. So, for example, you have people normally name their people after God, Abdullah, Abdullah, and whatnot. The problem is Jewish people used to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So when you look at the prophets' names, you have Elijah, which means my God is Jehovah.
Yeah.
He's in the Quran.
Yeah.
You have John, which means Jehovah is gracious. And you have Zachariah, who's in the Quran, which means remembrance of Jehovah. So this is the odd thing where if you, for example, if you denied the name of God, that would be maybe an act of kufr.
I think what the response on that page, I think what he was trying to do is what I was alluding to earlier, that each society or each group of people has like a set of rules that they follow, or Sharia that they follow, and it comes with particular things that they use, and it goes back to even the names of God, because there's a hadith that says God has 99 names, at least one, and it doesn't necessarily means that he has literally 99 names. It means that he has many names that he has revealed through the Quran that we evoke, but there's also many names that we don't know about and are not mentioned. So that's why I would say with the thing with Yahweh, because it's mentioned in the book, I wouldn't.
But this is the thing, but the prophets are also named after this person. So if Muslims are denying, that's denying a divine name.
I know, but I wouldn't even go as far as to say that we should deny the name. But I would say we should just go by the names that we have been revealed by this very revelation that we have now called the Quran. But because there are also narrations from the Prophet. It says that it is absolutely fine to narrate from the Israeliyat. And many of the names that the Muslims have are not Arabic names, are Jewish names. Dawoud, David. God be pleased with him, I believe. So there's many things that are from previous generations that Muslims are aware of. It's talking about Yahweh, Jehovah, the name Jehovah.
You might. Do you wanna? As long as it doesn't turn into a shouting match, I'll show him what.
You were last week. You were denying something you don't know. You don't have a clue, and you still keep it like you do now. That's why it's become a shouting. If not, if it can be a nice conversation.
But that we can discuss afterwards, because even the person, what's his name? I can't remember his name. He said
that book has there is non-Arabic version of it.
There's
There is no Arabic version.
Okay.
Of that book.
How is there no Arabic version?
Because the person is an Arab.
Okay.
And this logic that the book it must be in Arabic, yeah.
Well, we can talk about.
Translated from what?
Yeah, we can talk about
No,
afterwards.
we're talking now,
no, but yeah, this is a different conversation though.
No, just I'm telling you, that book has non-Arabic version. That means we have to know where this book translated from.
Right. So yeah.
The Qadi Ayyad, he said it or not said it. Okay?
Yeah, we'll discuss that afterwards.
Okay.
But so my point was this. The first question I had is, and obviously you read Arabic. Let me just find the verse.
You know that John that you showed me? When was he born?
165 BC, 164. So, I've shown him this Quranic verse.
Yes.
It says, so Zachariah, we give you good news of a boy whose name is Yahya, and we did not create anyone before him with the same name.
Yes.
You can check just verify the Arabic if you agree or disagree.
Yes, I know.
You agree?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll just show you as well. Al-Jalalain also agreed. No one has been the name John. Ibn Kathir also agreed.
No, who told to Al-Jalalain that Yahya is John?
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just quoting your prophet. I mean, sorry, your. So I'm in the tafsir. I'm just saying, Ibn Kathir also said. Ibn.
Wait. Let's go slowly.
Okay.
You know Al-Jalalain, he don't speak English.
Okay. I'm just showing you your tafsir if you have a disagreement.
Okay. Al-Jalalain, he don't speak English.
Okay.
Yeah? Ibn Kathir, he don't speak English.
Okay.
That means who translated that is his business, because Al-Jalalain, he didn't say John, because Ibn Kathir, he didn't say John.
Right.
Go ahead, finish now.
So this is from a Muslim website.
I don't care about the Muslim website.
Okay, so I'm just saying, these are people who are scholars in the language. They've translated it, not me.
No problem.
But all I'm saying is, I asked you to read the passage.
Yes.
And you agreed with what it said. So I'm showing you. I'm saying to you.
Quran.
Yeah.
Quran one, yes.
So I'm saying they agreed with you.
I disagree with Al-Jalalain here when not Al-Jalalain of the translator when he said John.
Okay. So who?
And this one when he said John because the name is Yahya is not John.
So let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Was John Bani Israel?
Sorry?
Was John from Bani Israel?
Was John is from Bani Israel?
Yes.
Yes, he was from Bani Israel.
So is Yahya a Hebrew name or is it an Arabic name?
Is Yahya a Hebrew name or an Arabic name? I don't know.
Okay, it's not a Hebrew name.
I said I don't know.
I'm just saying.
It's not a Hebrew name.
Yeah, because I'm saying everyone knows John in English.
Yes.
But he would have had a Hebrew name, which is Yohanan. That's what his so therefore, if the Quran is saying we gave him the name, and we know this person is called Yochanan in real name, that name Yahya has to go to Yochanan, because it's like someone saying, call him. Let me just.
You just only go in.
Yeah, let me just make my point, and you make the respond. It's like Allah saying, call your son Dave, but then they've disobeyed him and called him John, or something different. So clearly, if Allah is saying, call your son Yochanan, Yahya, and we know the Hebrew name was that he was called by is Yochanan, which is in Hebrew.
Why you using Hebrew like a criteria on the Quranic verse?
Because he was Bani Israel. So we know historically this person, like for example in English.
What you using like a criteria to say is this is his name? What you using? You using your Bible?
We use historical evidence. We can use the Bible.
Okay.
Everyone,
give me a historical evidence. Like?
Yeah, like you just go by the Bible.
Huh?
From the
you
Bible.
go into the Bible. Then why you lie? You said I'm going to historical evidences.
Because you can also go to Josephus, who mentions John the Baptist as well.
Look.
He was a Jewish historian.
Be sincere. Be sincere.
Yes.
Okay. Be sincere.
Okay.
When I told you where you go in, where you get, what is your criteria, tell me the Bible.
I just told
Bible,
you. I said Josephus as well.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Josephus.
Show me from Josephus.
Joseph mentions Yahya. Joseph.
No, he mentions John.
John the Baptist.
Yeah, yeah.
Does he mention the other John as well?
No, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at all his
Where's
work.
the other John coming from? Who's
Yeah.
That's why. Say, I take my Bible like a criteria, and I will go with you. But you start to lie. Or you have historical evidences.
He mentioned Josephus. He mentioned.
Yeah.
But I ask him now.
But
show me where Josephus.
Yeah,
both.
This is the thing. If you can also research it yourself. So I'm not going to spend like 10 minutes going through his work.
Where are you going?
Right. So okay. I'm saying
to make it short.
Yes.
To make it short, if you accept that way that Yahya and you have problem with Yahya because has Yahya there are too many who they had already the name in the Quran he said only you have to accept as well Isa like a name. But you will not accept. If you not accept Isa, that means you are hypocrite.
What do you mean?
Oh yeah, you're saying basically when we say Isa, you say that's not Jesus' name.
Yeah.
But now you're using Yahya as John's name.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying.
To what fit in them to show you that the Quran is wrong.
But this is the problem. Yeah, but
brother.
then this is that's fine. But then he's now got a problem because if there is no Isa and there is no Yahya, these are made up names. So it doesn't help the argument. Yeah. So I'm going with the argument because it brings a new point where who's Yahya? No one's ever known. So when your translators put it's John, because we know the historical person, so I'm even still manning the point.
Yeah, it would be quite interesting to see if Yahya has also been seen as John, because sometimes.
But this is the problem though. We know the historical person John the Baptist.
Yeah, I know, but sometimes you find amongst Islamic scholars that there's like a difference of opinion on like historical figures. For example, who's Dhurka name?
Right.
They're trying to figure out, is it Alexander the Great or is it...
But that's different because we know, for example, even why is a prophet named after a demigod?
I'm not saying that...
No, but I'm saying if you go down that path, it leads you to that. So that's why it's not good to go down that path.
Yeah, I'm not... What I'm trying to... The reason why I mentioned that was because it shows you that even amongst those people who had those... even amongst the people who actively used those terms, they have kind of difference of opinion where the name stems from. But like I was saying to you, is that I don't think personally that we can say we reject the name Jehovah or Yahweh. But what I can say is that we affirm that which Allah has affirmed of Himself through the most recent ideation of revelation, which is the Quran, and we go by that. However, if there are certain terms that are from previous scriptures, and we look at the meaning of those terms, and they don't have any connotations to any like evil or, then I don't think it would be incorrect to say to a Jewish person who summons Yahweh to see to that person you shouldn't be using that term.
But then, even if it had a negative connotation, if it meant killer, evil, whatever, you still have to address why the prophets are named after this negative connotation.
Well, in this example, and you're arguing here for devil's advocate, but because we don't have to argue for devil's advocate, because we have a perfect example where those names have honorable meanings. Like you said, Zachariah means servant of God. What do you say?
Which name?
Zachariah.
Zachariah is Yahweh. Jehovah is gracious.
Right? Because we have an example of what these names mean, I don't see any problems from those traditions to use those names, I don't think there's a problem with that.
Well, and this is the thing, because obviously when we look at, and that's why I showed you Islam Web, where someone asked that question.
Yeah, but they were saying that from the point of view what I said to you, that as a Muslim, because remember, this might be a Muslim who's asking me saying, can I use Jehovah?
Yeah.
Or what's the difference between Jehovah and Allah? What name is more incongruent, And the scholar there explains and says, use the terms that the revelation that you ascribe to.
Well, he did say that that name has not been revealed though, Yahweh, in that instance.
Not revealed in the Quran, which doesn't mean it has not been revealed previously.
Well, let's look at what it says again.
Because that's what I'm trying to say to you. There's many things that have been revealed previously that we affirm, and we are allowed to affirm.
So it says, the real name of God is Allah. This is the name he named himself with in his revealed book on the tongue of his prophets.
Yeah. So it's specific.
And messengers. May Allah exalt their mention.
Yeah. So specific on the Quran. That's the Quran reveals Allah.
Yeah.
But even the
but it does say the real name of God.
No, but I know. But what he means is that, look, we've been sent by the Quran. That's the revelation. This is, we affirm what God affirms of himself, what is in the Quran. Now, we know, for example, that there are certain names that Jewish people have had revealed upon, which they're not even allowed to pronounce, or they're encouraged not to pronounce. Right? And that ruling is not necessarily applied by Christians. Christians don't necessarily have to, follow that particular ruling.
Yeah, but again, with that ruling, is because, for example, as Christians, we know, like Jesus condemned a lot of their practices. So, for example, you have the stories where Jesus healed on the Sabbath, and like for a Jewish person, even tying your shoelace is work. So Jesus said, if your donkey falls in a well, will you not take the donkey out? Highlighting that they had taken the religion to the extreme. So based on the commandment, do not take your Lord's name in vain, this is where Jews, they say Hashem instead of, which means the name. So this is why Christians don't abide by that, because it's one of those things that are considered as an extreme. So that's
it can be considered as an extreme, but also it's not only done because of that. They do it also because they believe that these names have extreme potency.
But it would be taking the Lord's name in vain, though. It would be taking the Lord's name in vain, which is why that's what they believe.
So like I said to you, there seems to be progressions with certain books, with certain rulings, and then different ways on how to engage with God. But essentially, if you say Yahweh means what?
I am that I am.
I am that I am. And what does that mean? I am that I am. What's that? If you were
it means like I'm without beginning, I am without ending.
We have very similar terms. So the meaning itself does not even contradict the very being of who God is. That's why I say to you, the Prophet told us that, look, if there are Israeliyat, Israeli narrations, to narrate from them. But the caveat is that don't say they're correct, nor say they're wrong, but narrate from them. Meaning that if there are narrations that don't go against what our conception of God, then that's absolutely fine to engage with you.
So now I'll respond to that with two passages, and then I'll make my case. So this is the book of Jeremiah, verse 23, because it talks about there was a lot of false prophets at the time. So it says, I am the God at hand, declares the Lord. And when it says Lord, it's just Jehovah. So it says, I am the God at hand, declares the Lord, and not a God far away. Can a man hide himself in secret places so that I cannot see him, declares the Lord? I do not fill heaven and earth, declares the Lord. Sorry, do I not fill heaven and earth, declares the Lord? I have heard what the prophets have said, who prophesy lies in my name, saying, I have dreamed, I have dreamed. How long shall there be lies in the heart of the prophets who prophesy lies, and who prophesy the deceit of their own heart, who think to make my people forget my name by their dreams that they tell one another, even as their fathers forgot my name for Baal. So when we go to Exodus, when we get the name of the story of behind the name, so it says, then Moses said to God, if I come to the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, And they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, say this to the people of Israel, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob sent me to you. This is my name forever, and thus I am to be remembered through all the generations. So for example, Muslims will say, well, why do sometimes Christians or myself reject Islam? Well, we will see from these verses that God gives a clear instruction that my name shall not be forgotten. So therefore, in the book of Jeremiah, it says there were false prophets who could prophesy, do all these works, but they were then calling them to Baal. But I've given you my name, so this has to be remembered. So this is why Christians will ask Muslims, well, it seems that, for example, if a Jew becomes Muslim, then he should start referring to God by Allah. He can't then keep using Jehovah. It's not, maybe do certain...
It depends who he speaks to.
Well, maybe
if he speaks to Muslim, he will say Allah. If he speaks to Jewish and Hebrew, he'll probably say Yahweh.
But then would his, for example, Salah be valid if he used the name Jehovah?
Of course. I mean, if you mean by Jehovah, the very God that created the universe, he's the God of all the prophets, and I don't see any problems in it, because then that would be like saying that, oh, I can't make a prayer in English. You know, do I have to? There are certain instructions that you are given when you make prayer. There are prescribed prayer. There was a lady, and Arabic wasn't really proficient, and she used to make loads of mistakes, and not that she wasn't allowed to make mistakes, but she would make mistakes in terms of like in a religious, theological setting, and the Prophet told her to use the language that she knows. Right. So this is one of these examples of the Prophet says. To use the language that you're proficient in, you know. Right. What would you say to a person who becomes Muslim when they're 90 years old? Right. They don't know how to speak Arabic. They don't know how to pronounce all these words. It's very difficult for them to say that. Then it would be recommended to say them, look, do you believe in the Prophet? Yeah. Do you believe in Allah? This is Allah God, meaning Allah being God. There's absolutely no problems with using God in that case, or any other names that are attributed, as long as the understanding is that we are referring to Allah here and the God of the universe. Right, so
sort of solicits a shift in the paradigm, because maybe I don't want to spend too long on this. So this then obviously goes into the topic of true and false prophets, because you're saying, well, that people can recognize the names previously, but then obviously if we use the Bible as a criteria, if there are scholars that you're able to provide that do endorse that use, then fair enough.
But hold on, even if you think about it, when we read the English translation of the Quran, and we read Ar-Rahman, what does the translation say? It says the most merciful. It happens there again. So if I was to make a prayer and say, oh, most merciful, most gracious, it would still be valid. It's not just disregarded because you're saying it in a different language. The problem isn't there.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But with the argument with the name, is that what is the actual name of the creator? Because Muslims will say, for example, Allah's name is Jamed. I don't know if you know Jamed, like an original name. It's been his name from the beginning. Whereas Christians will argue that actually the divine name of God is not Allah. Allah is a generic name from Al-Ilah. So then it comes down to the essence of who is God. So that's why it's such a fundamental thing, why Christians sort of bring this up and will point to the names of the prophets, because ask a lot of Muslims who is Jehovah, we don't know. Well, the Bible says that my name shall be remembered. Okay. So this isn't something that is being taught to...
I don't know that it is true to say that Allah is the real name of God. Because I know the way, especially when it comes to the names of God, that one thing that you're taught very early on is that God has many names, and many names that are revealed, and many names that are not revealed.
Right.
And with Allah refers to himself as Allah. But I don't know if that now means that, oh, this is the real name. I don't know that caveat, whether that's
well, then that would bring to the question of what is the real name and where do we derive the real name from?
Like I said, you're talking about something. First of all, you need to understand who are we talking about. We're talking about the creator of the universe. That is immensely powerful,
right?
And you cannot pinpoint him to one name. It's impossible to pinpoint God to one name, because God is multifaceted. So what the Muslims are saying is that they're saying, look, it's a bit of a negative theology. We're saying we refer to God based upon what He's revealed Himself to us,
right?
Yeah, but it does not mean that we negate all the other names that are in line of the Abrahamic faiths.
So just to reiterate, so you would advocate that Muslims can use the name Jehovah?
No, it's not about using. It's
or
about
acknowledging
it's about acknowledging and understanding that there were different people,
right,
with different shariats, with different ways of speaking, different languages, and they would have referred to God, Allah, Yahweh, and other things. It's about acknowledging that, but it's about being within the parameters of the Quran, because the Quran is the criterion, and we say, look, we do acknowledge that the Jews said Yahweh and whatever. No, I shouldn't say whatever, astaghfirullah. But
no,
yeah. But for us Muslims, we use Allah, we use Ar-Rahman, we use Ar-Rahim. These are the words, the names that we are using, and that's where it stops. It's not that complicated, to be honest.
Well, I would say it is that complicated because when you have discussions, like your view is a different take for most Muslims.
Yeah.
You can ask a lot of people, they'll say, actually, that is a name that I don't, like for example, Daniel Hakachu, he had a discussion with apostate prophet, and he said, that's the name of a pagan deity.
Ooh, Yahweh.
No, Daniel Hakachu.
Yeah, but that's what I was referring to you earlier on about the connotation. The connotation.
But this is where the problem comes in, because the prophets are named after this deity. If it is a pagan deity,
but is that an informed statement that Daniel Hakachu did?
No, but that's what I'm saying. When you ask different Muslims, you come to different conclusions.
No,
so that's why it then comes to...
It goes back to what the Gnostic believed about the term Yahweh, right? But that's not mainstream understanding, right? You know just that Yahweh, the Gnostic believe that Yahweh is like a demigod.
So do you accept, are you Muslim?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's this understanding.
Right.
However, does that mean that that's originally what is established amongst the Jews? No, it's not. So what Daniel Hakachu's opinion might be misinformed, frankly. But I'm saying to you is that, look, we do understand that there has been previous revelations, and those previous revelations were in different languages. They were not all in Arabic. So just by default, the way certain previous nation would have referred to God would have not only be with Allah, there would have been other names as well. Like I said, if these names don't have anything attached to it that means Hades, you wouldn't have called. Would you call God Hades?
But this is the thing, and this is where the problem comes in, because Muslims believe the Quran is the eternal word of God, and some people are under the presumption that God speaks Arabic. This is why they believe that Allah is the divine name from the beginning, because it's from the Quran, which is the eternal word of God.
I find it personally very problematic to say that God speaks Arabic. What would be more appropriate to say is that the Quran is revealed in Arabic. That's what the Quran says. It says, and we have revealed the book in the Arabic language. There's no commentary on what language God speaks. Right?
Okay. So you believe Muslims are in error if they make that claim?
No, the people who say that God speaks Arabic has more to do with a theological stand that they're taking, because they believe that God's speech and then they go as far to say God speaks Arabic, which to me is very strange. I find it strange. I wouldn't say, even if it was, I wouldn't say, I don't think it's appropriate to say it in that way.
Okay.
That God speaks Arabic.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess on that note, we'll wrap this up. Yeah. But you can look into the name, and then we can discuss this again. So I'm just asking.
It would be more fruitful if I know a bit more about it.
Yeah. Okay. It was a pleasant conversation as always. Next time we'll have it continuous and maybe discuss something else anyway.
Thank you.
Cool. So just doing a quick wrap up. So first discussion was regard to the name Jehovah and the name of John. So Dawoud didn't have an answer on the name of John, said he would look into it. Then he went into we went into a discussion about the name of Jehovah. So he said that he is the personal belief, he is of the personal belief that Muslims can acknowledge the name Jehovah, but when we ask Muslims and even look at their academic scholars and such, they don't embrace the name because they say this is the divine name. So either Muslims are saying Dawoud is in error, or Dawoud is saying the Muslims are in error. But the consensus would be Dawoud is in error from his understanding, because as I showed within the passages within Jeremiah and even Exodus, God said Jehovah is my name which will be remembered forever. But it seems very strange that until we get to the time of Islam, that name seems to have disappeared from people's memory. And God is quite explicit in saying that false prophets would make the Israelites forget the name of God and turn towards Baal. So with Islam is coming and saying Allah is the divine name, the name from the beginning wouldn't make sense. And this is why, for example, Christians would reject Islam, because Muhammad wasn't someone who acknowledged even the Christian traditions, but even the divine name of God. Allah never referred to himself as Jehovah. So on that note, peace out.